Alright then, video rappers. My name's Adam Smith. This is my debut hosting of a show. And you know, when you do a debut host, you get the A-team to come along with you. But instead, I've got Mo. Hey,
you have no idea how much I'm looking forward to this. Do you remember the summer when we were doing the transfer shows and you would turn up underprepared and just keep picking at me?
Sorry, I was never underprepared.
Picking at me.
I was not even remotely prepared.
Yes,
That's
okay.
an entirely different thing. Anyway,
Well, the tables are about to turn.
We're like a comedy duo, Mo. We're like Ant and Dec if Ant was a DJ and Dec was a balding fellow
why
with
do I have to be
autoimmune
Ant?
Disease. What?
Why do I have to be Ant?
Oh, you can be whichever one you want. Which one's the one with the problem?
Ant.
Right, I'll be that one.
Yeah.
That's fine. Anyway, so we're here to do our really bad double act. And we're going to talk about, first off, we're going to talk about the reaction from last night's match against Genk. Then later on, we're going to answer your questions and do some other bits that are written on this piece of paper. You know, pulling back the curtain, let you know the show works. Not underprepared. Look, I printed this out. Josh printed that out.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Genk then. What did you make of it? Did you go?
I did go, yeah. Big thanks to Lizzie for sorting me out the ticket. It was a weird one. It was one of those games where we went into it thinking, okay, we should be able to beat these. We just want to get it out of the way because there's such a big game coming. But you can't really do that in the Champions League, even with a team that have never won a Champions League game, because winning games in second gear or third gear is hard. And if you give a team a sniff, even at that level, then they will take it. And then you had that difficult period. But I think you can look at it in the view of all of those incidents. But overall, we created enough chances to win about 15 games. We just didn't take them. But we won the game.
Let me ask you this, Mo.
All right.
To what extent have you got any concern whatsoever about the fact that that's about the 10th game in a row we've played like that? Like where we let me rephrase it. Do you think the just doing enough is basically the plan at the moment?
At the moment, yes. I was thinking it would probably, by the time we get to Sunday, we would have wanted to have stepped it up a little bit by now. But in some ways, I feel like Sunday in itself may be that catalyst. It may be that that game will just see us come to life. It won't be that we haven't done it, so we can't do it then. But in general, the last 2 seasons, this period of the season has kind of been like that. It's just getting points, getting wins, getting it under the bank, almost storing them up for winter.
Yeah.
And then once you get the other half of Christmas, that's when you start to see the
start worrying about playing well. You see, I'm of the suspicion that we learnt a lot from the Champions League game against Real Madrid and the Champions League game against Tottenham. Basically what we learnt was it does not matter how well you play. It matters whether you win.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, it's something that maybe Liverpool during my adult lifetime, but particularly, you know, kind of in recent times, that Liverpool have kind of played brilliant football, but not gone home with the girl at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't matter. All that matters is getting the ball in the back of the net and getting points on the board, getting wins in, getting through to the next round of things. And then you can worry about playing really well when you need to.
I think that's fair. And the weird thing about that is that kind of pragmatic approach, that sounds very, well, Rafa, for example.
Yeah.
That was, when we were great under Rafa, that was what we saw. But the difference between then and now is that sometimes the games would be brilliant and they'd be efficient, but they wouldn't be exciting. I mean, you can't say Liverpool games aren't exciting right now, can you?
No, that's definitely true. But I think it's also, look, I think it's also, there's a vast swathe of Liverpool fans that won't want to say this or won't want to admit this, but it's also very Ferguson's United. Yeah. They just won. Who cared whether they played well or not? I was looking this morning actually for some research on something, and Arsenal's invincible side, I think, drew 13 games in the season they did. And those draws included 0-0s with Birmingham City, 0-0s with Fulham was one of them. I don't think any Arsenal fans are going, oh, I hate that Invincibles team because we drew with Birmingham City. Do you know what I mean? They don't care. They won the league and they are talked about as brilliant. Last night was one of those performances where we played well in patches. I thought we did well at times. But generally, it was just a kind of, but let's just win it and not expend too much energy because we've got a really important game at the weekend. The one at the weekend is the one where you're like, that's the one where we're, and again, that's another one where I won't care if we don't play very well. Hook or by crook, get the 3 points.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I think as soon as we get to the end of that City game, if we've got the win, everything that's happened in it will soon become immaterial. It's all about the win. The interesting thing I think about last night's game was it was an opportunity with so many changes to see if anyone was going to potentially play their way into the team for Sunday. And I feel like Chambo might have done that.
Yeah, I think so. And the way he went off early is, well, not early, but he went off reasonably early, yeah, fair. Well, let's see what the lads last night made in the immediate reaction to the game. There's a little clip coming up now to give you a taster of what it's like to watch the post-match pint.
I felt like everyone, manager, player, teammates, all got really obsessed by the end about Mo Salah scoring a goal. And it was like, doesn't matter that much. Just get one more against these, put this to bed, let everyone rest and watch the fireworks. And like, it doesn't matter that much if Mo gets one. He's all right, he'll be sound. He's been through this before, he'll emerge the other side. But everyone got a little bit, let's team Mo. And then him himself was like, I'm trying to take on 6 and put it in the net here.
Yeah, I think there's definitely an element to that. But also as well, if you're not playing that well yourself and then Mo's through the middle, it's like, oh, there's Mo. You know, I can give it to Mo, it's fine. And then there's almost a little bit of an over-eagerness to just give him the ball because he's almost an easy out for you. If you're not playing that well, you can try and make something happen for him because he's there. And I felt a bit for him because he was feeding off scraps a lot of the time. Trent was trying that ball where he was angling it around and he was arcing it through. And you've got to have a team who likes the ilk of Leicester, who'll play a high line, who'll squeeze the line right up for you to get in behind. It's something like they were just sitting in tonight, Genk. Yeah. They were happy to just sit in and get scraps from anything they could get. And, you know, they never really bang on the door and say, you know, we're going to come here and we're going to get one last 10. Because I was surprised, to be honest, we didn't do Lovren. Especially when they brought that big lad on. I thought we just need to, if the narrative's getting set that it's going to be them, you know, kitchen sink job last 10 minutes, I thought we'd definitely do Lovren and just go 3 at the back and put him on Van Dijk's shoulders.
I'm sure that was perfectly comprehensible stuff that the lads came up with last night in the post-match pint.
Didn't watch it then.
No, I didn't watch it. I've not got all the time in the world. I've got a life to live. Anyway, one thing getting through last night not getting through, but, you know, winning and putting ourselves in a very good position to get through to the knockout stages. Does mean is that we're almost certainly going to have fixtures every day for the rest of our lives. That's not a bad thing necessarily, obviously, because of it means we're being successful. But there has been a big story recently about the fixture pile-up and the playing 2 teams and blah blah blah. I did watch your little thing on Radio City, was it, when you were saying about, you know, that it's madness basically, which I thought was very good. Have you had any thoughts since then? You see, let me ask you a different question. Let me ask you a different way. I think it's quite exciting. Like I get all the chat. I get why everybody's panicking. I get all that. But it's also we're going to get to watch the Reds twice in 2 days. It's great.
It's intriguing, yes. And I mean, in theory, there have been opportunities for us to watch the Reds twice in 2 days before because the under-23s have played the game on a Saturday and Liverpool played the game on a Sunday. And it's going to be very similar to that. But I get your point. It is the idea of can we win both games? I think that's going to be a really difficult...
that's going to be the big question, isn't it, really?
And I was talking about this with Lizzie last night in terms of the makeup of the squad. I think for most people, the Villa game is going to be the under-23s by and large. There's going to be the first team squad in Qatar. Klopp might even choose to turn it into a little bit of a warm weather training. We know he likes to do that at certain points in the season. But will there be a couple of the first team squad who have been, well, not sacrificed, but left behind to kind of keep them going?
You see, my personal take on it is I think what you might find happen is that the first 11 goes to Qatar and is basically supplemented with kids, and the subs bench, you know, the kind of players who can't get in, and the and the other youth players, the likes of Harvey Elliott, all the ones who've been sort of there and thereabouts, make up the rest of the cup squad, and then they fly out to Qatar, the ones that he wants to work with out there, as you say, like a warm weather training camp type thing, if we make it through the semi-final. And I also think that there's a big extent to which Liverpool have been preparing for this since the start of the season, because Pep Lijnders did the pre-match press conference for the MK Dons game. Didn't he do post-match for MK Dons as well? I think
He might have done.
I think he did post-match. Then he did pre-match for Arsenal, and I think he would have done post-match for Arsenal if Klopp hadn't wanted to go out and say, sort your shit out because what you're doing to us here with these fixtures, and really make the point of it. So I think Liverpool have kind of been preparing for this kind of eventuality for a while anyway, with Klopp basically saying to Linders, "You're running the League Cup. Don't worry about it. I'm going to leave you behind with you pick the League Cup team. I'll leave you with them while we all go out to Qatar."
I think that's definitely what's going to happen in terms of Linders being the coach of the League Cup team. I also very much agree with you that Liverpool have been aware of this for long ago. Probably since June the 2nd, they've been thinking about what we're going to do about this. The problem is that they appear to be the only ones who were concerned about it. The FA, the EFL, the Premier League, none of them, they were just all kind of wandering around.
Don't care. All going like, whenever I mention it. Yeah, I think
and so that's how we've ended up in this scenario. And yes, it's exciting. Yes, obviously I want to see us win both games and stick 2 fingers up to them. But there's a part of me that feels like if we do win both games, then the EFL have got away with it.
Yeah, I think that's entirely possible, but it's daft, and I think it's flagged up now, hasn't it? So there's no way that they can't look at it and think about it, maybe.
Well, you say that. I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, that's totally fair. Right, one of the things we do on these videos is we ask you for a question for us to answer the next day. It's a little bit like one of those weird quizzes where you have to answer the previous question. So the question that you guys came up with from yesterday was Torres or Suarez? No?
Simple to the point, really, isn't it, as a question? It is a difficult question in some respects. There were lots of great things that both of them did in a red shirt. Scored almost the same amount of goals. Suarez won League Cup medal, I believe. Torres didn't win anything while he was with us. It's got to be Torres for me, though. It's got to be Torres. I just think Suarez had an impact and grew into his Liverpool career. Torres was just an unbelievable flash from the blue that like nothing I'd seen before play for Liverpool.
Yeah.
He just took the league by storm, and obviously the ending wasn't as great and all that kind of stuff, but always Nando for me.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question then, which is, if Jurgen Klopp's the manager, okay, and you can get prime Torres or prime Suarez, which one do you think he prefers to work with?
Oh, that's definitely Suarez.
Yeah.
I think. In terms of how Klopp likes to play. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure he'd find some great ways to use Fernando Torres. I mean, look what he did with Coutinho.
Of course, yeah.
So he can work with all kinds of players, but I think in terms of the way we like to work and what we've already got within our squad, I think Suarez would be probably a better fit.
You see, because I think whenever people ask those sorts of questions of player X or player Y, the key thing is the fella above them. You know, who's the manager? Who's managing the both of them? Because a player doesn't exist in isolation.
No.
You know, and I perhaps Paul Konchesky would have worked out under a different manager. Yeah, that sounds. No?
Stretching out a bit there, mate.
But you know what? The point I'm making is the manager is the key thing, because if you've got a manager whose philosophy is closing down, harrying, rushing, all that sort of stuff like Klopp's is, imagine prime Suarez under Jurgen Klopp. I mean, my goodness.
I mean,
me.
Imagine prime Torres under Brendan Rodgers, though.
Yeah, exactly. But that's exactly fair. I think I do think that's the key ingredient that's missing from the question, is which one of them you would go for. Surely it depends on the team that they're fitting into and who they're getting to work with, because Torres maybe works brilliantly with Coutinho to an extent that, you know, maybe Suarez in this current setup wouldn't have worked as well with Coutinho, because, you know, of the way that he would be harrying around everyone and Coutinho is trying to thread through balls through the time. So I think that's I think it's a really tricky question. Torres will always have my heart, always and forever. But he does, because you know, aside from anything else, he was beautiful.
He was a beautiful man. He still is.
Exactly.
He still is.
But Suarez, he was the ultimate twat, wasn't he? And Liverpool haven't had enough of them. Liverpool haven't had enough horrible little twats.
I mean, he had enough in it to kind of last us a lifetime.
to
be fair,
but that's the thing, isn't it? It is one of those things where you're like, you know, in that sense, I love the way everyone hated him, and that is, you know, that's a quality in and of itself.
I still think on that point though, you can be someone who doesn't take any shit and is never going to be taken for a fool and doesn't take a backward step without being an absolute bellend.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Classic example, Virgil.
Yeah, Absolutely. And look, I would despise Suarez play. I mean, I did when we played Barcelona. I hated him, you know, but he's one of those players that when he's on your side, you absolutely love him for what he is and what he does and what he's willing to do to win. And we haven't over the years had enough. And I think actually this squad at the moment has got loads of them in their own way. Mane will do anything to win. Robertson, obviously. There's just player after player who's willing to do whatever it takes to win, but without crossing the line. Like,
I was going to say,
Suarez just went
maybe
too
not
far.
whatever it takes.
No, exactly.
There's a couple of things that he did I may take slight issue with.
I think he always went a little bit too far. But it is a really good. We haven't really given a definitive answer. I think you've said outright. You've said Torres. I mean, I'm saying in a Jurgen Klopp team, I'd take Suarez. But if we somehow generated, prime Torres and put him into this squad, I wouldn't be.
I love how complicated you've made literally the simplest question we could have ever heard.
Well, someone's got to do that, haven't they? So anyway, if you've got a question that you want whoever's hosting the show tomorrow to answer with their guest, then put it in the comments and we'll choose one. Make it really difficult because I'm not hosting. So, I don't care, really. And also, make sure you download the Anfield Wrap app if you haven't already. It is brilliant. It's really well made. And you get 250 tokens to buy shows with, basically. You can't. It's like when you go to the fair, you want the review, but that's 700 tokens, so you've got to go for AFQ football. It's that sort of thing, basically, where you end up with a thimble instead of the PlayStation.
We should do something where we can win tokens, like a virtual 2p machine.
Yeah, exactly.
I would love that.
Yeah. I've done loads of them with my wife recently when we've been to fairs. They're a really great way to spend loads of money and get nothing back for your time. So anyway, that's been my debut hosting. If you enjoyed it, let us know. If you didn't, keep it to yourself. No one likes a smart ass. And I don't know, I may be back in the chair at some point in the future, or it might have been an absolute disaster. But that is Talking Reds.